Right, what's up, Dragon Brood? Since we didn't have previews, well, except for like 3 of them on Sunday, we didn't do a video. So this is going to be technically day 6 and 7 of Tarkir Dragonstorm previews, but there looks like there's a lot to cover, so this should be a good one. Also, a quick reminder, if you're looking to buy any of these cards or anything else, or you want to fill out your commander decks, don't forget to check out Tales of Adventure. That's TOAMagic.com. Use code DRAGON. That's my code, DRAGN, and it'll save you 5% of your whole order, and you'll be supporting the channel, which I really appreciate. Windcrag Siege, 1 red, white for an enchantment. As this enters, choose Mardu or Jeskai. Mardu is if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Jeskai, at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. It gains lifelink and haste until end of turn. Wow. I like both of these for a lot of different decks, right? Like the first one lets you get double triggers. So anything that enters the battlefield, anything that maybe, like, you're already playing red-white, so let's say you have something like War Leader's Call or whatever, it would trigger those again. But it also just has triggered abilities, so it could be almost anything. Like, I mean, if you're playing this in the Legends deck, oh my goodness, with Roxanne and Elish Norn and whatever, you get a whole bunch of effects going off at once. That's pretty cool. Jeskai just making the extra goblin tokens pretty sweet, because I have seen some versions of red-white goblins. But also, again, if you're playing any of those tokens decks that are playing Impact Tremors, War Leader's Call, anything like that, it works for those. Anything that just wants more bodies on the battlefield, like the Zergo we saw earlier in the previews. So lots of stuff you could do with this card. This might end up being one of the more popular of these Siege-type cards. Stormshriek Feral. That's a name. 5 mana, so 4 and a red for a 3/3 flying haste dragon with red and 1, and this creature has fire breathing, so it gets +1/+0. The Omen side is Flush Out, red and a colorless, or red and 1. So you get to discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. The dragon part's not great on this one. 5 mana for a 3/3 flying haste that you have to spend 2 mana in to get 1 more power. Not the best, obviously. But if I'm playing a deck that just wants to play one of the cards that lets me discard and draw, this actually isn't bad, right? Because now it just comes with an additional dragon attached to it. So I think, in a lot of cases, if I'm okay with sorcery speed, and you want to draw and discard and do that whole thing, then this is probably a card you can play and get a creature attached to it. Otherwise, I don't think this card's going to see a lot of play. Kishla Trawlers, 2 and a blue for a 3/2 human citizen. When this creature enters, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. When you do, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Weird. Alright, so when this enters, you can exile a creature, but then you get to return an instant or sorcery. That is such a weird line of text. That almost feels like it's a typo. So it enters, you can exile a creature, and then you get an instant or sorcery. I mean, the problem with this is you both need a creature and an instant or sorcery to get any value out of this, and then it is just a 3/2. So while this might be okay and limited, I can't see a real world where we're really going to play much of this in a 60 card format, unless it's very specifically built with this card in mind. Glacial Dragonhunt, blue-red, so 2 mana for a sorcery, draw a card, then you can discard a card. When you discard a non-land card this way, this deals 3 damage to target creature. And then Harmonize is 4 red-blue, and you can tap creatures to reduce the cost equal to the power of the creatures you tap. 2 mana sorcery that you can draw and then discard. And if you discard a non-land, you deal 3 damage to a creature. Trying to think about just how bad we want this. Like, what type of deck would I need to be playing to make this worth it? I'm not sure I know what that answer is. Like, maybe there's a spell-heavy deck. Maybe there's some Izzet or Prowess type decks. I don't know. This feels like a quirky card. But again, maybe you're playing something with monuments that want you to discard, so maybe that's a thing. Yeah, maybe it does find a home in something like that. It's interesting. It is a sorcery, which is a downside, but I don't hate it. Scavenger Regent. It's 3 and a black for a 4/4. So 4 mana for a 4/4 flying dragon. It has ward of discard a card. So see, this is a half where the dragon is actually just good. If they want to target it, they have to discard a card. The sorcery, the Omen, is Exude Toxin, X black black. Each non-dragon creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. Yeah, this is just good. I mean, if you're playing Rakdos or Mardu or whatever, Sultai maybe, even dragons with this, like, this is cool. It's a 4/4 dragon. It's hard to kill. For the same 4 mana, you can give all non-dragons -2/-2, right? Like, that's cool. So, like, yeah, I don't have a reason to hate on this card at all. Like, this is actually reasonable if you're playing dragons. I mean, honestly, it's good enough that you might even be able to play it if you're not playing dragons, right? Just use the Omen as a way to control the battlefield, and then later on, you just get a 4/4. Revival of the Ancestors. 1 white, black, green. For a saga that at Chapter 1, create 3 1/1 white spirit tokens. At Chapter 2, distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control. And Chapter 3, creatures you control gain trample and lifelink until end of turn. Wow, I like everything this card does. It makes 3 tokens, so bare minimum you get like 3 blockers, which is great. We've already seen a lot of cards in black, and I think one in green that cared about +1/+1 counters in the set, so it's checking that box as well. Though it does go into in some existing +1/+1 counter decks as well, so that's pretty big. And then creatures you control just gain trample and lifelink, so you get to set up a big attack after you've had a couple turns to build up some extra counters. So yeah, just an interesting, solid card. Like, nothing too crazy here. Temur Tawnyback. It's a green, blue, and red, all split mana. You can pay 2 colors for each one instead. It's effectively a 3 mana 4/3. When it enters, you draw a card, you discard a card. Quality common. Yeah, that's kind of all you say about it. It helps you draw, filter your hand a little bit. You get a quality body for 3 mana. Effortless Master. 2 red, blue for a 4/3 Orc Monk. It has Vigilance, it has Menace, and this creature enters with 2 +1/+1 counters on it if you've cast 2 or more spells this turn. I was almost good until that last line. But it's a 4 mana 4/3 with Vigilance and Menace, so that's still okay. But, I mean, I guess technically for 5 mana, assuming you have, like, I don't know, a Burst Lightning or an Opt or something, right? Like, you just cast your spell, you play this. This can count as the second spell. And then you have a 6/5 for 5 mana, effectively, because you had to spend one previously. But, like, yeah. In the decks, like the flurry decks that want you to play an extra spell or whatever, this could be fine in those. Dragon's Prey, 2 and a black. Instant. This spell costs 2 more to cast if it targets a dragon. Destroy target creature. Yeah. I mean, this is more for limited, right? You're not if you're playing 3 mana to remove a creature, there's just better things that aren't restrictive that you can do that exist. You know, the hero downfall type cards, stuff like that. Like, we just don't need to be doing this. And there's a good chance there's going to be some dragons around, and then this just costs way too much. Whereas a Go for the Throat still solve some of your same problems. So, like, yeah, outside of limited, we're probably not playing this. Unending Whisper. It's a blue to draw a card. It has Harmonize 6. You know, I assumed there was going to be a card like this with Harmonize. I just didn't know what the Harmonize cost on it was going to be. It's sorcery, so like, yeah, not feeling it too much. I'm sure some deck will find a way to play this. But yeah, not what I would want most of the time. Bewildering Blizzard, 4 blue blue as an instant. Draw 3 cards. Creatures your opponents control get -3/-3 until end of turn. Now see, this card I could see some control decks playing. Right? That's like a perfect scenario. Your opponent goes to hit you with like 3 creatures. You're like, you know what? Draw 3 cards. Everything gets -3/-0. Maybe you take like 4 damage. Right? Like, cool. I don't hate this card. This is fine. I don't think you play a lot of them, but 1 or 2 in your deck I think is totally reasonable. Lightfoot Technique. 1 and a white for an instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains flying and indestructible until end of turn. This is a fun card. Probably for more outside of 60 card stuff, playing it in Commander. Because there are a fair amount of cards that care about, or decks I should say, that care about +1/+1 counters. And a lot of times you can get a big creature that you can't punch through, and you're like, well, okay, give it flying. You know, right? Or your opponent goes to wipe the board because your best thing's getting too out of control, or they want to target it. You can give it indestructible and probably get triggers for the +1/+1s going on the creature. So, like, yeah, like, could we play this in standard? Sure. I think it has more value in some other places, but it's at least playable because for 2 mana, you're getting a whole lot here. Nature's Rhythm, which is a crazy looking piece of art here. But it's X green, sorcery. Search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. And then has Harmonize of X, green. Wow. Okay. What are we doing with this? I mean, the funny thing is now, if you have elves and you can ramp, you just go search a Greater Hoof, I guess. Or, you know, go find another one of your, what is it? The elf that taps for the number, mana for the number of elves you control. So there's probably a couple of decks that want, not a lot, but probably a couple of decks that could use this. It's a neat card, though, for sure. Songcrafter Mage. Green, blue, red for a 3/2 human bard with flash. When it enters, target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard gains Harmonize until end of turn. Its Harmonize cost is equal to its mana cost. So you could flash this in during your end step, Harmonize something in your graveyard. Tapping this is one of your things to reduce the generic mana and the Harmonize cost. Like, this feels like it should do something, but I don't really know. Like, it's a weird situation because even though it has flash and you get it into play, I'm just trying to think, like, in this type of deck with 3 colors, what's going to be in the yard that I want to Harmonize that has any generic mana that I could reduce? I mean, I guess if it's an instant, the good news would be you're harmonizing, say it's like a 2-cost thing, even if there's not colorless mana, like you're still harmonizing it so you can play it out of the graveyard. So maybe that's really the benefit here. We don't care about actual costs. If they're just cheap spells, it becomes almost like a more expensive, slightly larger, what's that guy? The dude who lets you play stuff out of Snapcaster Mage, right? So yeah, it probably works in those scenarios, and that actually makes it a bit better. That actually, thinking about it that way, this could potentially even give it value in older formats. Call of the Spirit, or just Call the Spirit Dragons. It's Wooburg, so white, blue, black, red, green. It's an enchantment. Dragons you control have indestructible, which is hilarious. At the beginning of your upkeep for each color, put a +1/+1 counter on a dragon you control of that color. If you put a +1/+1 counter on 5 dragons this way, you win the game. You know what? I'll try. I'll go for it. Why not? Now, I will say this. I don't think you're expecting to win the game by putting counters on 5 different dragons. Could you? Sure. Don't think that's going to be the case. Because you have to put the counters on this way. So you have to have 5 different colors, right? At the beginning of your upkeep for each color, put a +1/+1 counter on a dragon you control of that color. Yeah, so you'd have to be trying to play 5 color dragons. But giving all the dragons indestructible for 5 is actually reasonable, especially when you consider how many multi-lands we have, and now that we're going to have a couple different artifacts that can make mana of any color. It's actually doable. Like, not crazy likely, but definitely doable. All right, have to go back to the translator on this one for a Sun Pearl Kirin. It's a white and a red for a 2/1 flash flying. When it enters, return target non-land permanent to your hand. If it's a token, you draw a card. This is interesting because this adds more fuel for the like pixie self-bounce type decks that we've been seeing a lot. But I'm also wondering, like, what do they replace? Because you don't want to replace more things that you get value for from bouncing. So something else would have to give. That being said, it does have flash. It has flying. So it can be a nuisance. It can be a surprise blocker and still get you value by returning something else. And a lot of these decks are playing stuff like what is it? The talent that makes you the otter, right? So you could bounce things like that, your otter token, if you're just desperate to try to dig for a card as well. So pretty cool card. I don't know that a lot of decks play this, but there's definitely a couple of versions of a deck in standard right now that could maybe use this. Loxodon Battle Priest, 4 and a white for a 3/5 Elephant Cleric. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control. You know, if you're on a budget in Commander, sure, but I mean, 5 mana for a 3/5, to put a counter on something each turn. That's a hard sell. I don't think we're ever going to play this in standard. It's the price is just so high for what we're getting. Corey Still Cutter. 1 and a red for an equipment. Grim creature gets +1/+1 and has trample and haste. Flurry, when you cast your second spell each turn, create a 1/1 right monk creature token with prowess. You can attach this equipment to it. You equip for 1 and a red. Huh. I mean, getting +1/+1, trample, and haste is nice. It has a low equip cost, which is always the thing you look for in equipment. So 1 and a red, very reasonable. And if you play a second spell each turn, you get another 1/1. This is a tough one, right? Because I don't know immediately what we would do with this, but this definitely feels like it has all the right numbers to be playable, right? Cheap to cast, cheap to equip. You get basically 3 things for the creature when it's equipped, and it possibly generates more bodies, right? I mean, honestly, even if you never equip it, it still just has the static ability of Flurry to make an extra body. So that could be useful on its own too. So I don't know what we're going to do with this, but it definitely has significant upside. Rot Curse Rakshasa Demon, 1 and a black for a 5/5. There has to be a downside to this. So a 2 mana 5/5 demon with trample. It's decayed. Okay, fair enough. Decayed, can't block, and when it attacks, you sacrifice it at the end of turn. And then the renew cost that you play out of the graveyard is X black black. Exile this card from your graveyard. Put a decayed counter on each of up to X target creatures. Activate only as a sorcery. So basically, the renewed cost is you take your turn off to say pay 5. Put decayed counters on 3 things. So when they do attack, it's the one time they get to attack and then they die. This, man, I don't know how to think about this, right? Because if you wanted to play a straight up demon deck, this is huge only being 2 mana. Because all the other demons, I think the cheapest ones are 3, and then they go up from there. But man, the upside of being able to just make it to where your opponent's creatures only get to attack once. Kind of nice. I don't know what to think about this card, especially with it being at Mythic. I feel like this card's better than I'm fighting with myself, right? I feel like it's going to be better than I'm giving it credit for, but I can't even figure out where necessarily just yet. But man, it's a cool card though. I'll give it that. Naga Fleshcrafter. 3 and a blue for a Naga Shapeshifter. You can have this creature enters a copy of any creature on the battlefield. The renew cost is 2 and a blue. Exile this card from your graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on target non-legendary creature you control. Each other creature you control becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn. Wow. We always keep finding new things to do with 4 mana clones, right? So for 4 mana, this can just copy a thing straight up. But then when it dies, you put a counter on something, and then everything else becomes a copy of that thing until end of turn. Wow. Wow. This definitely has way more upside than some of the other clones we've seen. I don't know what we're doing with it, but it's better than some of the other ones. But yeah, that renew ability is pretty slick, though. Narset's Rebuke. 4 and a red for an instant. Deals 5 damage to target creature. Add a blue, a red, and a white. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Yeah, this is just limited fodder, right? Like, dealing 5 for 5 is okay, whatever. But you do get a 3 mana rebate if you can use it. But yeah, this is just for limited. I can't see a world where I was trying to think of some scenario where we could use this in standard, but we're just not. Breaching Dragonstorm, 4 and a red. When this enchantment enters, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast it without paying its mana cost if that spell's mana value is 8 or less. If you don't, put that card in your hand. When a dragon you control enters, return this enchantment to its owner's hand. This is a weird one, right? Because if you were to pay 5, there's a chance you just get a dragon, right? If you've built the deck according, but you could also get one of your mana things that let you ramp to the dragons. Being able to return it doesn't matter greatly, mostly because it's 5 mana. Like, whereas some of the others I think were like 3. Like, it's a lot easier to replay those. In a deck where you're already wanting to play other dragons, this isn't the most exciting thing to follow up with. But it's not unplayable either, so we'll have to see. And we have Feral Deathgorger, 5 and a black for a 3/5. Why did this look like, what's that thing? The black 4 mana 5/5 that when it takes damage, your opponent has to sacrifice number of permanents, whatever. It sort of looks like that from a different angle, which is weird. But anyway, maybe I'm just seeing things because it's just the time of day. But a 6 mana 3/5 dragon, flying, death touch. When this creature enters exile, up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. That's actually reasonable. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature, draw a card. Oh, we think we covered this before. So yeah, that's actually all the cards. So yeah, we actually saw some crazy cards for dragons today, and even one new win condition based around dragons, which is super sweet. So I don't know. Did that excite y'all knowing there's another one? Are you going to try to do it? Is it just a bad idea that it exists? I don't know, but I'm at least going to give it one go to find out. But y'all let me know in the comments. I'm going to link the video from day 5 so you can get caught up in case you missed anything. And all those are linked to previous ones as well if you want to get caught up. But that's all I have you for now. We'll see you next time.